Coming up this week on the Just Lifestyle Show 943, Gary's back. We're back as we took a break last week to do the live stream, which is available on our new channel. Incidentally, if you've not seen that yet, that was a sound design live stream. But we're back this week. We've got Windows build news to talk about, EV news, new packs for the Mod Wave, lots more. So let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
We're back after our week off last week. You were out and about, and I was live streaming last week.
Yeah, excellent stuff as well. I caught up on that, so really impressive.
Yeah, I did enjoy the live stream. It was really good. I think we had about 20 people or something like that on the live stream. It was really interesting, sort of doing the sound design on the fly and following on the live stream. So yeah, lots of interaction for that. It was really good. So thanks to everybody that joined us now. We'll probably do another one maybe next month or in a few weeks' time anyway. And I'll do a similar thing. The technology worked quite well. Apart from this Surface Laptop Studio never crashes. So, and it froze just before I started. Like froze, so the music was, I could hear the audio and everything, but the mouse wasn't moving, and it did it. It seemed to be it's the splitting software that I was using with multi-monitor. It just didn't like it, so I concentrated on, and it did it again in the live stream right at the beginning. But once I got it started, I left everything on the one monitor and it was fine. So I don't think it was a Windows fault. I think it was the XSplit and driver issues. But other than that, it worked really well actually. So technology worked quite well with that XSplit. It's a lot easier than it used to be when we did this a few years ago. So it was good fun though. So thanks to everybody that joined us on that one. So we've got a bit of a catch up today. I know you've got some EV news for us. We have got some build news, not a huge amount. In fact, I want to talk about Microsoft being incredibly quiet, and I've got some new sound design stuff that I wanted to talk about as well. Quite a few things that we've that I've done over the last couple of weeks. So we'll start off with the builds, and in the time that we didn't record last week, so in that sort of in a 2-week period, we've had a couple of beta builds and one Canary build, which was a real not surprise, but we usually get at least one a week, but we've had one build. In fact, I'll share the screen. We just had this one build, 26200 for the Canary channel, no watermark on it or anything like that. So no dev channel build for at least 3 weeks actually, because they've split now. So they've split off. So you can't do you can't switch between from Canary back to dev anymore because they've diverged again, as we thought they would do. I think we said this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, that this would happen. So Canary is now a new thing. So my guess is this is the next update to Windows next year. And dev will stick with being the 24H2 release that comes later in the year. So, but just that used to be really clear and easy to understand, but now with the features, it's no longer, is it? Because they introduce features in Canary, or they put them in beta first, or they can do whatever they want. So it's not quite as predictable as it was. So there was only a few bits and pieces and some fixes. So actually, it was one build in 3 weeks, and there was not very much in it, so that was fairly quiet on that front. And my guess is that, like I said, I think they finished the fundamentals of 24H2, and they can add new features and turn things on at the very last second. So it doesn't mean to say what we've got now is what we'll have, but I think that's the core of it done anyway. I guess in all the dev stuff underneath is done for developers. It's that platform is not going to change too much, and then we'll get incremental improvements to that up until we get to the release. Then it will go, and then Canary channel will be the next focus, and so on. So we'll start to see new builds in both channels, and the beta one being the one that will hit for 24H2, but not at the moment because it's still on this 22635 build. But that'll be some time, I think, before we see that flicking over. But a few bits and pieces on that one as well. So I think it's been pretty quiet on the Microsoft front recently. We've had, especially for anything consumer based, there's not a huge amount going on at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. It's been a very quiet time.
We've got is it Build coming up soon?
Build's come out soon. And usually that's why it's quiet. I was going to say that you get the Build announcement soon. So normally they slow down a bit around there, and then they'll announce stuff at Build, and suddenly things will start being released again.
Yeah.
That's the normal process. Yeah, I mean the Build. I think you can actually look at what's on the Build agenda at the moment, which is mostly AI stuff, but as you'd expect. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are some rumours of new Surface devices and stuff, so it could all sort of kick off again. And these new Surface devices, we've already had a business Surface announcement a few weeks ago, so I think this might be more consumer focused. So whether we'll see any new consumer features to go with the new Surfaces, or it's just about the Surface devices and the platform, we'll have to wait and see for Microsoft's announcement. But I'm looking forward to seeing that one. So. Yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's really quiet on the Microsoft front. But like I said, I think they're saving some of the stuff up for Build. It's always a good time to talk about new stuff. We're not at that stage now where we get like consumer things like headsets, mixed reality headsets, or Windows Phone, or anything else anymore, are we? So it's all about the AI platform now, isn't it? And Copilot and all that kind of thing. In fact, I've seen a couple of I think some pictures on the internet of the keyboards that are coming up with the Copilot key next to the Alt key. So I think that's a mandatory requirement, isn't it? Or at some point, so it's going to be one of those mandatory requirements for hardware manufacturers to use that, to stick those keys in. Interesting to see whether it's a key that will be a new key that's introduced and stick around forever, or it's a key that will be on for the next 4 or 5 years and then quietly fade away. Because we used to get Office keys. I think I remember getting Office keys. We don't seem to get them anymore, do you? No.
I guess it's almost fully now, isn't it? So.
Yeah, so we'll see what. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sort of the announcements in the next few weeks. See if there's a bit more consumer stuff, because it would be nice to get Microsoft to focus a bit more on consumers. But yeah, it's gone quiet on that front at the moment.
Yeah, I think other than maybe two, I don't see much in the entertainment space at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, I talk about mixed reality though. I didn't. My lads went to a I think what's it called? Zero latency VR at Meetup VR. I think they've got multiple places around the UK, but they've got one just near the Trafford Centre in Manchester. And in fact, it's in the industrial park, so they're all like warehouse units. So it could have been a warehouse unit, but it wasn't. It was a VR centre. Very well done inside. So you go through, and there was a bar and screens up, and then there's the play area itself is got its sort of inflatable wall all the way around it, obviously for safety. But then they take you in, they give you a guide, and they were using I think might have been Rift headsets. Maybe this would be something Richard would know about. I couldn't quite work it out. They weren't the Quest, or they weren't the Quest headsets. They were a bit more advanced than that, but they were totally wireless. They had a gun as well, and they were playing Far Cry. And it's quite clever how it did it. The game would move you around the location, so there was no running around crazy, with people clattering into each other and all that kind of thing. The game controlled where you could stand, and the game avoided you crashing into other opponents or the players by sort of showing a virtual wall when you got close to them. But it guided them around there. But it was quite funny watching them, because they're just like wandering around, not doing very much, it seems, looking down from looking, fighting, and then shooting. And then when you went on the in the reception area, they had a screen up so you could see what they could see, and it was obviously they were playing the game. So it was quite funny. They were walking down a narrow path in the game, and I could see them walking down this narrow path, and they were being quite careful not to fall off a ledge. But when you look back in the where they were just like walking down the middle of this huge empty room very cautiously. It was quite well done. A really interesting system. I don't know, I've got a picture of them playing it, but yes, I have actually. Yeah, I could. So yeah, an interesting thing, but it wasn't hugely expensive. I don't know the exact price, but they're sort of in this environment where they were just stood around, or walking around slowly playing these VR games, and then Yeah, and then on the screen you can see it. But they said it was really good, very engaging, really good fun. There was no latency whatsoever. And yeah, the technology worked really well. And I think they played Far Cry, and then they played this sort of zombie game, and the zombies coming at them. They said that was actually really good because you really got that spatial awareness. And I actually noticed when my son's pointing it, he's saying, "Look," to his brother, "Look over there behind you," and he's pointing behind him. And of course, they don't. You get so immersed in it, you don't realise. So, and they said what was really weird is after 45 minutes of having that, you take the headset off. I said it felt very strange experience just walking normally. So, yeah, it was good fun. But I recommend that if anybody wants to go for a VR experience, and even if you've played like the VR headsets that that I've got, and my son's got a Quest, you're in a bigger environment, so you've got space to spread out. Whereas when you're at home, you're in a small room. Do you remember we used to say about the Xbox Kinect, wasn't it? That British homes or UK homes weren't really designed for that small space. They were always designed for sort of that bigger play area in a US type home. Anyway, they enjoyed it, so I definitely recommend that one if anybody's interested in trying VR on a big scale. It's just a shame Microsoft sort of gave up on that, isn't it? Because I think, well, it's not the big thing that we thought it might be. They did have a nice product. In fact, they did do a deal, haven't they, with Meta? I should have got that in my show notes, actually. They did do a deal with Meta to bring some of the technologies to the Meta platform a couple of weeks ago. So there is some stuff that Microsoft are working on with Meta. So it's just a shame that Microsoft don't have their own first-person headset. But anyway, there you go. So that's the yeah, I thought the VR thing. I thought, isn't it a shame that Microsoft aren't doing this? Right. So Twitch in chats from Microsoft. You said you had some VR EV. I get the letters right. EV.
It's probably the VR news.
Yeah.
VR will get in there somewhere. No, this is all. It's interesting news emerging from Tesla camp today. So this is reported by Technica, which is basically that Tesla has laid off an awful lot of people today, including all the people working on their new vehicle, the Model 2, which was the cheap vehicle, and rather surprisingly to me, the whole of the supercharger network team. So the shining star in Tesla's parliament has always been superchargers. That's what gets people to buy Teslas, really. It's not really fancy ones. It's the fact that the superchargers are so easy to use, and they're everywhere, and they're reliable, and they're well maintained.
We've lost your audio.
My audio just came back out. Yeah, that was weird. It just muted itself. The Tesla have done this really big deal in the States where NACS, which is the North American Charging Service standard, has become sort of the national standard, and everybody's starting to adopt it. And that actually is this Tesla connector. So where we've got CCS in Europe, they're going to have this NACS thing in America. Which is based on the Tesla standard and the supercharger standard, and everybody's adopting it, which means that the supercharger are getting more and more traffic. You think that would be a really good revenue stream for them, and yet he's laid up all the team that successfully did this, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I know he's been really adamant he's going to cut his head count to increase value and blah 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 blah, but I don't know. It's a very weird one, especially as he is currently asking the shareholders to give him $56 billion as a pay rise, which would pay for all those members' stuff. But anyway, it's interesting to see how that goes. It's interesting to see what impact that has on the supercharger network. What has to counter that? I mean, the good news part: the supercharger network in the UK has been greatly expanded for Tesla owners today. A lot more of the chargers have suddenly been opened up for non-Tesla owner use. I mean, there was a hope that all the superchargers in the UK were going to be updated to the newer version, which would make them easier to use by third-party charge operators or third-party cars. But that may well have gone by the wayside because of this. I mean, certainly it was in the plans, but what those plans actually mean anymore, I don't know. Because the newer chargers have got longer cables and are easier to use for cars which haven't got the charge port on the same side as the Tesla's got. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I mean, there's some charge networks who have been really they've been hands of glee about this, sort of saying, "No, we've got an opportunity now. Not going to compete on Tesla anymore." Potentially, I mean, I was actually going to mention on the show you how competitive Tesla have been on their chargers in
Hmm.
recent time. They're basically half the price of every other charge network. So I don't know. I think there's a lot going on there at the moment, and we might find there's some. I mean, this is obviously breaking news today. So we might find that there's some kind of reason going on. Maybe the whole team's been shifted off somewhere else. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, like you said, it's always a thing that you kind of it's always seemed to be good, but the supercharging was one of the best part of their
Yeah.
network, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting interesting times. I suppose these things maybe the Chinese maybe it's Tesla sort of getting hurt by the Chinese market coming in with the low price models, and then the upper end is being fulfilled by the existing, car manufacturers, your Porsches and BMWs and Audis and Fords and everything else, and then you've got all the BYE, what is it, BYD, and MG, and all coming in at the lower end, and obviously the Japanese ones as well. So, yeah, maybe that's something to do with it. But the charging network always seemed to be sort of a profitable part of the business, but obviously not.
Yeah, and so there's rumours like he's spending an awful lot of money on on both sides, sub-5 and stuff, which is stuff he's interested in, but without much success. And those chips cost him an awful lot of money, and they're spending a lot of money out on that. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very strange set of announcements. So I don't know. We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah. Just to mention on the VR thing I mentioned before, I found the article. It was on The Verge. Can share the screen. This is more about a limited edition Quest with some Xbox branding by the looks of it. So they're working with Microsoft to create a limited edition Meta Quest inspired by Xbox. So maybe the controller, it comes with some kind of Xbox controller, and there's some co-branding going on there. Because of course, I suppose Microsoft have got all these games. There's such a big software developer in the game industry now, aren't they, Microsoft? That kind of, you can see why. But it's a shame. It's not going to be a Microsoft device or anything like that. It's just going to be some branding that is going to go on. So yeah, not as interesting as I thought it might be, but yeah, it's some branding. But there you go. At least the Xbox brand is still going well. I think going back to EVs, isn't there one of the fully charged that's not called fully charged anymore? There's a northern one, isn't there?
Everything electric at the end of May.
Yes.
So highly recommend people going to. That's always a really good event. And Harrogate is a great location for it. And talking to people at the Everything Electric events, they all tend to say that's their favourite one, other than Sydney. Yeah, I can kind of understand why
Sydney or Harrogate, yeah.
But Harrogate is your favourite one in the UK, and it's got a really good family atmosphere and what's going on. And there'll be a lot of cars to test drive there, so that'll be really, really good. So yeah, I think it's definitely great. I mean, the one XL in London was excellent. Didn't have quite the atmosphere that the other events have had. I think mainly because it didn't have an outside area, which Harrogate would have. And also I think test drives will be better at Harrogate than they will at Excel. Doing test drives in London in 20-mile-an-hour speed limits is not the most fun, but Harrogate would be a good place to go and test drive some cars, and they'll have a lot of cars there to test drive.
Yeah, so isn't it the exhibition centre that's in the town? Is it there, or is it at the showgrounds?
I'll find out for them.
Yeah. Harrogate is a lovely town as well to visit.
Oh yeah, it's a great place. I mean, if you want somewhere to stay, it's a beautiful place to stay. I'm trying debating if I'll attend. I'm actually on holiday in Yorkshire that week, so I might attempt to come up and go up. Everything Electric North, it's called, and I found if my internet was running and able to load things, I'll tell you. It seems to take forever to get this. find that interesting.
Yeah, I think it's when I'm not I'm away as well. Then
it's the 24th to the 26th of May.
Yeah.
And actually at the Yorkshire Event Centre, which is the Great Yorkshire Showgrounds. So plenty of room there.
That's a really nice open place. So
Yeah,
there's plenty of space there. Yeah, it's ideal.
Yeah, thousands of EV test drives, 50 live panel discussions, live cookie demos, test drive e-bikes and scooters. And that was the fun bit in London. I really enjoyed test driving all the e-bikes. That was good fun. So yeah, lots to see. And their site's a bit slow today, but tickets are available, and I know they subsidise. They reduce the costs of them. I don't know if they're going to do the same things they did in London with a sort of major discount for young people. I think it was under 25s for free or something. Under 23s maybe with free. At London, it was definitely good. For some reason, their site isn't loading at the moment, so maybe it's been a bit hammered. But we can put it in the show notes anyway.
Yeah, I'll drop a link in the show notes, but it's definitely worth checking that out.
It's really good. Really good. The whole thing, I had an interesting meetup at the weekend, but it was supposed to be the EV festival at the weekend, but unfortunately it never played its unkind hand. Because as you know, it rained pretty solidly Saturday and most of Sunday morning, to the point where the place where we were having it, Stafford Hall, was waterlogged. And yeah, that's the one. That's the was really unfortunately very waterlogged, so they couldn't put the vehicles on there. But the key people who turned up early to get organised all hung together. And we had a big chat about EV stuff up in the cafe. But it was actually quite a good day, and lots of discussions around what's coming and what's not coming. It's interesting how varied the number of EVs is out there. There's EVs for everybody now, and most of us agreed at that meetup that there's no real inhibition particularly if you've got home charging. If you've got a charger at home, it's absolutely no inhibition to have an EV. If you haven't, yes, maybe more of a challenge. But also the price problem has really gone away because of the deflated second-hand values and the fact that there's an overstock of cars, and certain Chinese are just churning out cars left, right, and centre with pictures and mass pictures of ships arriving and not being able to unload because there's too many cars already in the storage. Because they haven't shifted that. But so there's some real bargains to be had in the EV market at the moment, and it's a correction in value which probably is well overdue. Not nice if you've already got an EV and you bought it and you want to sell it on because it's obviously depressed value, and not nice if you're a second-hand dealer because it's getting more difficult to shift them at the prices they were, probably making a loss on it, and also probably not nice for a lease company. But at some point, these corrections happen. They happened in the petrol market a few years ago. Prices dropped again. 30k is the base price for an EV was unsustainable. We're probably looking at 15 now as the base price of our own stuff, which is much more reasonable. So I think we will certainly see that coming more and more, and I'm seeing more and more cars being discounted down. Certainly, paying list price for an EV is a thing of the past. Whereas before, quite often you were asked to pay a premium over list price if you wanted a car quickly. So and deliveries are there, there's markets there, and we are seeing people like BYD and Cherry, as we mentioned, coming to the market. The Motor van, there's got a lot of other vans going on. The Z-Cab coming this shortly, which will definitely have volume and reasonably good quality cars, and very good quality cars. I mean, that's the thing about an electric vehicle. The actual mechanics of it are very similar from everybody. And it's easy. It's very easy to build a decent electric car in terms of performance. It's what you put inside it in terms of electronics and everything else become the other thing. That's all being worked on. So we'll see a flood of those cars coming into the market. And I know you were looking into whether there's government subsidies being used to make it cheaper for the Chinese to do what they're doing, but they're still profiteering. I mean, because every single Chinese EV which is coming to the UK market is at least twice what it costs in China. And some of that cost is meeting our legal requirements, but That isn't all they've got reason for it. It's just so they can sell it at that price. So it's going to be interesting. The next year or so is going to be interesting, and I think consumer pricing is always one of the most critical things. You can say what you say. Anybody says about EVs in terms of what they do for you, but if the cost is too high, people won't buy them. So and we'll see how that pans out. It's definitely interesting, which is why I think it's worth looking at everything electric. Good show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll include the link for that in the show notes.
Oh, well, the other thing we ought to talk about is 12-volt batteries, because obviously I was talking all about that in the other show.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I have now had my 12-volt replaced under warranty. They did. I mean, when I was speaking last time, I think it was going to be this week before they could get round to it, but they actually got round to the weekend after we talked on the show, and did a good job of it and replaced it, and it's been absolutely reliable since. But it is definitely an issue with these 12-volt batteries and these. It's genuinely a problem. I see a couple of companies are moving away from that, and some interesting approaches being taken to try and make sure the 12-volts are better looked after.
Yeah, I may just spend more a bit of investment in the battery technology that is still old school, but I suppose there's still always going to be a need for that, as you mentioned the other week. You need that lower voltage to switch on to the higher voltage, but I suppose it doesn't have to be a lead acid battery. It could be any kind of battery, but
it doesn't even
phone battery could do it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It could be
capacitor.
Yeah. Capacitor, it strikes me as that it's probably the most useful thing to use, but if you can get a capacitor which will retain its charge for a length of time, but that's, I mean, as long as you really charge it after every discharge, you shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, well, those electrolytic capacitors can all charge for ages, can't they? I remember taking capacitors out of old TV tubes. And you could have them in a cupboard for ages, and you still get yourself a shock if you're not careful.
Yeah. I mean, obviously at the moment you've got the issue that a lot of stuff powers off the 12-volt batteries still. So the doors and the boots and stuff like that are kind of 12-volt. So you have to have enough bump to do that. But there's a lot of options potentially. How we can go forward on. I mean, the lead acid batteries are good in lots of ways. They don't catch fire, and they're usually reasonably reliable. But yes, it's an interesting piece of research thing.
Yeah. Now, while I've been off for a couple of weeks, I have been doing a little bit of music programming, and so one for computer fans and music fans. This one is I did a new collection for the Mob Wave, and I've got for the Wave State 2 different Korg synths of the Fairlight. Now you probably remember the Fairlight. It was the music computer in the early 80s. £30,000 in 1982.
It was a lot of money. I remember wanting one of those and never being able to afford it.
Yeah.
It would have cost more than my car cost.
Yeah, well, actually, I think I had an interview with Thomas Dolby not so long ago saying that he got his first advance for one of his his first album, I think it was, and spent the 30,000 on a Fairlight. He said if he could have bought a house in wherever he was living in London for that price at the time, which would now be worth sort of 10 million, whereas the Fairlight was probably worth a few grand, if that, as if it was a retro computing piece. But anyway, he said he probably would be better to invest it in a house than he was in a Fairlight. But he made good use of his Fairlight, and it was an amazing instrument used by, like I said, Thomas Dolby, Peter Gabriel, Jan Hammer, Kate Bush, Tears for Fears, The Art of Noise.
Yeah.
It really, Pet Shop Boys, it became sort of the sound of the 80s, especially mid 80s. It was massive. You think Running Up That Hill, that intro is all Fairlight. Tears for Fears, I said, they all use those. So I got a collection. I had a collection of these samples I've had around for a number of years. And of course, the great thing about these samples used by Fairlight and early samplers is they're tiny. These files, if you get a sample library of strings or something for a modern synthesizer, you could be talking gigabytes, terabytes of samples. These are like 10K, these tiny little samples. So I put this collection together of all the Korg, for the Korg, but of all these Fairlight samples. So I've got so many that I've broken down into categories. So this volume 1 is strings, brass and vocal, but some of the famous sounds are in there. Like I said, the Running Up the Hill intro and sounds are in there. The stab sounds off Yesterday's Own of a Lonely Heart, the orchestral strike off used by Pet Shop Boys and others. The if you think Tis Fierce Shout, that sort of breathy sound in the middle, R sound as it's called, that's in there as well. So if you've got a mod wave or a wave state, you can download it. There's a version for the mod wave, a version for the wave state. Download the file, use your sample editor to upload that to your device, and yeah, you can start playing those. So check out the videos, even if you've not got a mod wave or a wave state and you want to be reminded of what the Fairlight sounded. I've done a demo of all the sounds on there as well, so check those out. I think you'll enjoy those. And going for even more obscure, I've got a collection of samples for the Akai AX73. Now, this is a bit of a forgotten gem of a synth, and I was talking with someone, and he was sort of thanking me for the sound sets I've done. He said, "Do you want some samples?" I thought, "Yeah, why not?" So we used OneDrive, and he said this amazing sounds he created his samples of the Akai AX73. So that was a 1985 analog synthesizer by Akai, who really weren't that known for analog synthesizers. Very famous with samples and the S1000s and MPCs and stuff. Yeah, so they created this analog synthesizer, which has a very 80s hi-fi look about it. It looks like it wouldn't be out of place in a hi-fi rack. But he gave me these sounds, and they've got some really interesting sounds for them. So I've looped them and cleaned them all up and got them for the mod wave, and you can import those, and there's actually some quite interesting sounds on there as well. So it's like having a whole nother synth that you can load in. So if you've got a mod wave, and there will be a version for the wave state as well coming soon, check those out and get those loaded. Working on some other stuff as well, and I shared this on YouTube. I don't know I'll be able to share it now, but I'll include a link anyway. Is Kraftwerk robots, so I've been working on that, but I've also been doing my favorite Kraftwerk song, Computer World. I've been working on some of the sounds from that, so I should have a Kraftwerk collection soon. And another one which I'm just finishing off is the sort of Berlin School of Sequencing, that sort of Germanic Tangerine Dream type thing. So I've been working on some of that. So I've got a few things in the works, but I know quite a few people ask me about the Kraftwerk ones. Which interesting though, because I actually love that Computer World track, but it was only recently, the last 20 years or something like that, I got into it. But do you know where it was actually used? That would take you right back to 1981 or 82. It was the theme for the BBC computer program. Or yes, the Norris Ian McNaught Davis. What was it called?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, the BBC one, the show. Yeah. So before making the most of the micro, I think it was just called computer program, wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Ian McNaught Davis, was it?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. So it was actually the theme of that show. So I've seen that TV program. Obviously, watched it in school when I was in school. We were made to watch it, but I've seen it loads of times, and then I found out that was Kraftwerk. I didn't know it at the time, but that's Kraftwerk. So,
wow.
Yeah. But anyway, so I've got these sounds, so hopefully they'll be coming out soon. And I did have a new song as well, which is a bit of a summer 80s style track that is on my Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music. So I'll include a link for that in the show notes as well. So that's the most up-tempo, optimistic, upbeat one I've had for some time. So while we haven't got the British summer weather yet, I thought I'll bring the summer music anyway.
Cool. Oh, we had some summery weather today, but I then got windswept on the way into the studio. So,
Yeah.
it's been a bit weird the weather at the moment.
Well, I'm very glad for my smart thermometer because it sends me alerts. Because I actually had a temperature alert last week. I think it was only last week where it got down to 1 degree, and then of course during the day it's been like 40 degrees. So yeah, we've had the usual British weather, but I've had no barbecue out, no pizza oven outside yet. I'm still waiting to do that. But I was hoping this weekend, being a bank holiday, might be the time, but I'm not quite too sure yet. But let's hope we get some good weather over the bank holiday weekend. So I'm still looking for any guests. Anybody who's nominated? I've had a few people sort of suggest guests for the show, so I've been following up with that. So hopefully we'll have some guests coming on the show in the next few months. I'm definitely going to be doing something about. I'm definitely going to try and get Pete Brown back on the show because he was really great talking about his Windows stuff and Windows music pieces.
Was great, but that was really I love that show.
Yeah,
I'm sitting back and listening and all that.
Yeah, so I think we'll definitely get some guests. But if you have got any ideas for guests or topics or whatever, you can send those in. You can leave a comment on the videos, or you can send it to ian@thislife.com. Seeing a lot of engagement on the YouTube channel now, which is really good as well. So definitely seeing that to shift a little bit towards YouTube from the other methods now. Even just general engagement. If you post something and finally get the engagement on YouTube, perhaps some people who were on Twitter have gone elsewhere, and YouTube's one of the areas where they've gone to. Talking YouTube, what have you got on your EV channel?
Well, I've obviously got the interviews I did at Everything Electric, which is quite interesting stuff. I think the one with Andy Till is excellent, with about EV market and pricing and stuff like that. And then I talked to Mr. Caesar, Dan Caesar, about Everything Electric, including talking about Everything Electric North. So if you want to find out a bit more what's going on with that show, you can check my channel and watch that interview.
Yeah, excellent. Right, well, I think that's everything this week. We'll be back same time, same place next week for more news. And please keep comments coming in, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.